Yeah, hello everyone. This is a question that is based on the interpretation of a dummy independent variable. The earlier recording that I sent was based on dummy dependent variable where we considered the linear probability model, right? We began our discussions of dummy variables by talking about dummy dependent variables, right? Where a dummy variable would appear on the right hand side of an econometric equation, right? This is one such question. Okay, this is, I have just randomly put some numbers to one of the questions examples which we have considered. And here are a set of questions, and it would be in a similar format that you might get questions for your exams also. So how do we write an interpretation for the same? Okay, that's what we are trying to do here. So all of you would remember that example which I told, where YI stands for the income of the IELTS teacher in dollars, right? XI stands for the number of years of teaching experience of the IELTS teacher. And the dummy variable here, taken here, is defined as D is equal to 1 if the IELTS teacher has a graduate degree and 0 if otherwise. Okay, so it's on the earnings of a teacher, right? And the variables, the independent variables considered are the number of years of teaching experience and whether or not the teacher has a graduate degree. Okay, let's say that the estimated results are like this. This is just hypothetical. I have just randomly put some numbers here so that it becomes easier for us to carry on with this question. Okay, it is not as a result of any data-based findings that I have put this. It is just random. So as you can see here, the first question is like, what do you call this variable di? Right, di by now all of you are aware that we call it as a dummy variable, right? And this dummy variable, the explanation you can find in chapter number 3, section 3.3, right? What exactly is a dummy variable, etc. You will find there. And also in the summary portion of that chapter, you will find a small point where they explain what is a dummy variable. So using that and maybe this example itself, you can give an explanation for the same. Okay, what is this? And what are the different types of dummy variables, etc. In the introductory lecture for dummy variables, I have mentioned about this. So you can use that to answer this question. What do you call variable di? The variable is a dummy variable, and explain what is a dummy variable using examples, etc. You can explain. Interpret the meaning of the estimated coefficient of di. See, the estimated coefficient of di here is 0.5. What is the meaning of this? I have always, even during our earlier discussions also, I have told that dummy variables are interpreted in a slightly different manner as compared to that of the uh, regular numerical variables. I've told that dummy variables would be interpreted by comparing it with the omitted condition. Here, the omitted condition is teachers not having degree, right? And the teacher having a graduate degree is the included condition. So that condition is always compared. It is in comparison with that you always try to interpret the dummy variable. Okay. So here, this is how you write. Right here, di equal to 1. The definition of the dummy variable is such that di is equal to 1 if a teacher has a graduate degree and it is used as a dummy variable. So this 0.5 that you have got here means that a teacher with a graduate degree earns 0.5 times greater income as against one without a graduate degree. That is how you interpret, right? In a regular sense, for example, if we are talking about teaching experience, right? We would interpret this variable as, how will you interpret this? We will say that for every 1 year increase, right? For every 1 year increase in the number of years of teaching experience, the income would increase by 0.81 times. Okay. We'll be interpreting a regular numerical variable in this manner, whereas a dummy variable wouldn't be interpreted that way. A dummy variable would be interpreted by comparing it with the omitted condition. Okay. So that this is how we interpret it. Right, you can write that also. Even before you write the explanation straight away, you can write that as well. A dummy variable is always interpreted by comparing it with the omitted condition, right? Therefore, di equal to 0.05. For 0.5 means that a teacher with a graduate degree earns 0.5 times greater income as against one without a graduate degree, right? That is the way in which you can write the interpretation for this. Now, the third part of this question is quite interesting. The question is, does the sign change in accordance with the way you define DI? Explain. The question is, if at all you change this definition of DI, how we have defined DI here, DI equal to 1 if teacher has graduate degree and DI equal to 0 if otherwise, right? The question is, if at all this definition is changed, right, in accordance with the way you define DI, means if this definition is changed, for example, I'm putting this as DI equal to 1, right? If the teacher has no degree, right, and DI equal to 0 if the teacher is having degree. Okay. So the included condition is teacher with the degree, and the excluded condition is, or omitted condition is, teacher without degree, teacher with degree, right? The included condition happens to be teacher with no degree, right? And excluded condition happens to be teacher with the degree. So with a change in the definition of DI, see, this sign won't change for this beta 1, which is the coefficient of the number of years of experience. That won't change. It will remain positive itself, right? However, the coefficient of DI will carry a opposite sign if we are changing the definition. If we are changing the definition in such a way that you can say this, that this is because now DI equal to 1 would mean teacher with no graduate degree, right? And DI equal to 0 would mean teacher with degree. Okay. So naturally, when the sign changes, I mean the included condition changes, the sign also is likely to change. So it would become negative. The sign would become negative, meaning that, see, only then the interpretation will hold true, right? If we look for the hypothesized signs, as we have done for linear probability model, what would be the hypothesized signs of these coefficients? See, one is number of years of experience. As number of years of experience is increasing, the income is supposed to increase, right? Similarly, if you have a teacher with a graduate degree, obviously the salary is supposed to increase, isn't it? Right? If the teacher is having a graduate degree, the salary is supposed to increase, isn't it? In this initial condition that we considered, we are considering teacher with graduate degree as D equal to 1. Whereas here now, we are considering D equal to 1 as teacher with no graduate degree. So in order to make sense of it, if it has to adhere to this larger thing, that is, the teacher with degree will get a higher salary and teacher without a graduate degree will get a lesser salary, right? If you have to align yourself with that commonsensical thought, right, the hypothesized sign, naturally the sign should change when the definition changes. So when the definition of DI is changed, there wouldn't be any change for change in the sign of, or the expected sign of the coefficient of xi, but obviously there would be a change in the expected sign of the dummy variable. Okay, because you have now changed the definition of DI separately. And also, even though we don't consider this for interpretation, this intercept value will also change with a change in the definition of the dummy variable as such. Okay, that's how you write an explanation for this kind of a question that comes. Okay, so that's the way you interpret a question where you get an econometric equation where you have a dummy variable, dummy independent variable. Okay. The earlier question that we discussed was a dummy dependent variable, right? Linear probability model. So that's the way you do it, right? Nothing much complicated. You will be given this regression estimated result, and then you will be asked to interpret. That's the way in which you do it. Okay, thank you.